Server from 17 once again, introducing you to my Call of Duty Black Ops 2 Veteran Difficulty video walkthrough. This is the first mission of the campaign, and it's entitled Pyyrhic Victory. You'll notice I've trimmed out a lot of the beginning stuff, because I'm trying to make this guide as concise as possible for the people that will need it. And one thing I have not shown in this first video is the selection of my gear, but I will be showing that from every mission onwards because I do think it's an important point, an important part of the game. Sorry. One thing to bear in mind as well: if you start on Veteran, you will not have access to the early weapons that you can select to play the missions that will make it significantly easier than it already is. And if you were to play through it on a lower difficulty, then do Veteran afterwards, you would be able to pick any weapon pretty much in the campaign from the very first mission onwards, and that is going to make your life significantly easier. But don't worry guys, this is by far the easiest campaign in any Call of Duty I've ever played. There was maybe 2 sections where I actually died. Every other death was either when I pushed the checkpoint too quickly or when something ridiculous happened, like the grenades. The grenades on this game are something that I'm probably going to talk about in depth, because in past games they were just spammed at you. In this game they're not spammed, but it's almost as if the computer can cook them. So I would never ever throw grenades back, because you don't seem to have the time to do it as much as you used to. It can work, and it has worked for me, but it's just not very safe. But for all intents and purposes, this campaign is very different to previous Veteran campaigns, and I'm pretty conflicted in how I feel about it. On the one side, I think it's awesome, because not only is this campaign fun, but it's fun on Veteran. And I don't know how many people would agree with me, but, you know, just farming for checkpoints, which is what Veteran usually is, where you just kind of, you know, bob behind a rock, you know, stay 9 miles away from all the action, and, you know, pray you don't get one-shotted. All you're really doing at that point is regenerating and picking off dudes, you know, playing it as safe as physically possible, and you're gaming the mechanics at that point. You're not actually playing the game, you're just playing a setup that works on a very stringent difficulty, and it's not very fun. The challenge is fun because I enjoy a challenge, but the components of what you're doing is not necessarily fun, and by making the campaign easier, there's still, you know, more challenge than per se normal, but you can still play the game and you can still experiment and have fun with it, as opposed to always having to be in cover, always having to, you know, just head glitch every opportunity and pick your shots and regen all the time. In fact, when you think back to the previous campaigns, you probably spent more times health regenning than you did shooting, and this campaign's completely different. You can be aggressive, you can push forward and shoot people, you can play almost like the multiplayer. There are certain moments where you'll get punished and you'll get killed, but as you can see from this video, this is a lot more relaxed than what Veteran normally would be. You take a significant amount of damage compared to, you know, previous games, and it's just a lot more fun. But with that, it's a lot less challenging, and this guide itself is probably not going to do very well because not a lot of people will need it, because it's not hard. It really isn't, and I'm kind of surprised because I was expecting it to be, you know, the standard Call of Duty fare, and Black Ops was pretty challenging. I thought Black Ops was one of the tougher campaigns, but this game is a breeze, and I think that's definitely going to be divisive. But these sequences here, because there's so many dudes on screen, you probably don't have to shoot them, because for a lot of these really big events, not many people will shoot you. It's kind of weird like that. The only time you'll find yourself dying on these sequences is from explosions where mortars hit you, or just random grenades where you suddenly die, you don't know why, and it's very strange. This section here, immediately jump out. Don't think about it, don't worry about it, just jump. If you don't, you'll get gunned down immediately, and it happened to me about twice on my first playthrough, because when you jump, you automatically go into this animation, so you don't have to worry about where you're landing. As soon as you're here, this is when the firefight begins, and if you'll notice, I'm not being shot. I'm not exactly hiding all that much, and I'm not being shot. This is so different to other Call of Duties, and if I get close to these people and they decide to shoot me, like that guy could have, you know, I might have been in a lot of trouble, but it didn't work that way, and that's kind of the philosophy for this campaign. It's really different. But this section now, if you jump onto this automated gun, you can preemptively kill all these boats before they give you any trouble. This sequence is actually a little boring if you kill them all super quick, because you don't get to see them. It doesn't seem to, you know, script it the correct way. It just seems to be you sniping boats with an extremely overpowered turret. There will be one boat that approaches towards the end of this sequence, which you just can't seem to shoot all that well, because I think it's designed to make the enemies bored onto this platform we're on. But you're going to notice there's a lot of things cut out of this, and the main reason, guys, is thanks to the Halo guide and the copywriting that was around it. My channel's been reverted back to not being able to post videos longer than 15 minutes, which is extremely saddening, but I'm just going to trim out moments where I don't need to tell you what to do, and there are a lot of sequences in this game where the game kind of plays it for you, you know, for better or for worse, and I don't know how I feel about that. Because, for instance, Modern Warfare 2, there was a lot of cutscenes where you interacted in the cutscenes by pressing triggers and things to do things, and sure, quick-time events are kind of, you know, old and cliched at this moment, but there are moments in this game where you sit and watch your character fight battles that perhaps quick-time events might have made, you know, a little bit more exciting. I'm not too sure, but if you climb up here, there's another turret that I tried to use to shoot this boat, but I couldn't turn enough, it wouldn't let me. And then there is some ammo up here if you decide to shoot with your guns, for whatever reason. And anybody wondering, I am using the YY to kind of cancel some frames of the animation. It's not a necessity, I'm just trying to get my body back into the habit of doing it. Because I don't know if you noticed, but Modern Warfare 3 completely nerfed the reload cancel, or the weapon swap cancel, so it was, you know, kind of annoying, and I got out of the habit of doing it. But if I'm going to be playing a lot of multiplayer, which I am, I need to get back into the habit of doing it. And for anybody that is uninitiated with YY, I should have perhaps done this earlier, but YY is simply, if you double tap change weapon, you can cancel the last part of the animation of reloading. You have to make sure the clip has gone in the gun though for it to work, and also if you go to change weapon but you don't want to, if you press Y again it immediately changes back to the gun you had. You can also do these techniques with sprinting, but sometimes sprinting can't, you know, doesn't cover every situation, so it's good to know. But a new feature in this game as well, which I'm going to be using pretty much exclusively throughout the guide, is you can pick a perk that you will all start with when you play the game for the first time, which allows you to open little caches filled with ammo and bonuses and things like that, which are generally highlighted on the HUD as access points. And you'll notice I went up to the box and I used the bolt cutters on it. That is your first exposure to it, and that's the perk I'm going to be running because everybody can use it. I'm not going to select anything you don't have, because what's the point? It helps less people that way. And hopefully I'll be able to show you some interesting places where it can be used. But the one thing I want to drive home, because this is an introduction to the guide for anybody who's new or old subscribers that are watching, if you've ever been intimidated by a campaign on Veteran in the past, and they can be intimidating, do not worry whatsoever about this one. There's a couple of scripting moments where you can get totally fucked if you mess it up, but aside from that, this is a really fun campaign that I think it's probably the best Call of Duty campaign, just because you can change your weapons at the start, and being able to use the guns you want not only makes the game more fun, but it also makes this guide extremely easy, because there's a couple of setups that I'm going to introduce you to that make the game easier than it should be, and it's already a lot more, you know, lenient than any other Call of Duty's ever been. But this boss is literally using the Valkyrie rockets. If you've ever used them before, you know you can press the right trigger to detonate them when you're close to it. All you have to do is clip him 3 times. You'll know when you've hit him with the hit markers, the little digits around the crosshair, and on the 3rd one it will end the sequence. The crossfade there has just got rid of the carrying woods sequence. It's a fun sequence the first time around, but nobody needs help on following the instructions of an NPC, so I've trimmed that out to get directly to this moment. That shed right there is openable if you have the skill I mentioned, and these are a couple of bear traps that you can lay, and I don't know if putting them here does anything. It's just what I did the first time and I had a smooth ride, so I did it the same the second time. They might be more useful later on in this sequence, but I'm just pretty much repeating the events I did the first time. But once you climb through this window, this is an example of those moments where you could have probably controlled the game. But there's going to be another crossfade getting rid of it, guys, because this is all story, this is all expositional. It's very enjoyable the first time, but you don't need help on it. This section, however, you may need a little help, but once again, if you've got away from Makarov's safe house on Modern Warfare 2, this is a cakewalk. And the basic strategies that you're going to be utilising is you want to be running in the grass, don't run in the water because the water will slow you down. Hudson's going to drop woods. Wherever he drops him, climb up generally into the tree houses to use them as cover. For some reason the AI has difficulty shooting you behind them, and I don't know if you have to kill a set amount of enemies or if it's just timed, but these sequences aren't all that challenging and you should be able to get through them quite easily. This is going to happen another 2 more times, and each time there's going to be more enemies attacking you, but just stay safe, use your equipment, there's plenty of ammo, and you can actually use the quick aim technique that's in the campaign where when you aim down sights it locks onto enemies, but I generally don't try to do that too much because it makes me complacent and it makes me lazy when it comes to aiming, and I'm going to be playing multiplayer after I've finished with the campaign, and I'm going to need all the aiming I can get, so I would definitely say use it for campaign, but don't rely on it. Couple of things that they've changed in the game that I really noticed. The first one is insane, and it's to do with the difficulty. I don't know if it's a conscious thought to try and make it difficult in different ways. I'm not too sure what the logic behind this is, but in previous Call of Duties, the only thing that stopped you from being able to run or slowed your mobility down was if you got stunned, flashbanged, or if an NPC was in the way, or if you were clipping on something. You know, something along those lines, something highly technical or easily avoidable. On this game, when you take damage, you cannot sprint. I don't know why. It's really strange, and I think they've done it so that you don't get yourself into the situations that you did on previous Call of Duties where you literally ran while you were being shot to try and hit a tripwire that would give you a checkpoint. And I think they've tried to get rid of that by slowing you down when you get shot. It's really frustrating. It's going to lead to a bunch of unnecessary deaths because you cannot get back in cover without that sprint sometimes, and you'll just get murdered. But that is one thing I really noticed, and it's only when you're a bullet away from dying. It's not when you're just taking ambient damage, you know, a couple of scrapes. It's when you know you're close to death, and it's at that moment when your screen is at the reddest it gets. You can't run at all, and I can't remember it being in any other Call of Duty, and it really threw me off in this one. The second thing I noticed was there's a lot more prone blocked incidents. The amount of times I was near a piece of geometry and I wanted to lay down and the game wouldn't let me do it was really irritating. It's a really strange trade-off. They don't have the clipping that Modern Warfare 3 did, which made it atrocious at times, but they have prone blocked, which means that sometimes you just cannot lay down and you will die because of it. But once again, because this game is much more lenient, you're probably not going to suffer as much as you would have on World at War or Call of Duty 4, so don't worry too much. This sequence here, you can shoot the cars, it will give you a couple of explosions, you're just waiting for the checkpoints, you're waiting for Hudson to move up, and at this point when Hudson stops, if you run to him, you will effectively trigger the end of the level. I didn't realise this, so I was just shooting, and it does say follow, and I'm in front of you, I'm like, come on dude, I'm in front of you, you can still keep moving, and turns out that I have to trigger this sequence, and I just forgot, so do bear with me folks. But this is the beginning of the walkthrough. I hope you're excited for it. Don't worry about this game, it's not that difficult, which, you know, saddens me, but at the same time, it's definitely fun. So thanks for watching, and you take care now.